From manufacturers struggling to reach last-mile sellers, to distributors navigating inconsistent logistics networks, to informal retailers operating without reliable visibility or documentation. The continent's supply chain is defined by gaps in data, infrastructure, and in trust. Today on In the Room, we sit down with Chigozie Njoku to unpack the realities behind Africa's fragmented supply chains. We discuss why the problem persists, whether tech-led solutions are enough, and what it takes to unify manufacturers, distributors, and informal retailers under one documentation system.
When we talk about the supply chain in Nigeria itself, right, um, is really fragmented.
Okay.
So how would you say that is a big of a problem?
Okay, so it's actually a major problem, really, and I'm going to explain it in two ways. So the first thing is, how is distribution or the supply chain that we know it, how is it distributed, right? So we have the modern structures, and of course we have the traditional structures, right? So the traditional structure would be taking a product from the manufacturer to a distributor, to a wholesaler, and then of course to the retailer before it gets to the final consumers. We also have the modern structure where people can then sell directly to large chains, large supermarket chains, large departmental stores, and from there it also gets into the hands of the consumer. We also have cases where certain products will do well in certain locations and not do as much in certain other locations. So you see that maybe in Nigeria, for example, in the East, there are certain products that would sell more. And because of that, the distribution or the supply chain has to be within that zone. And some other products would do better in the North and in the West, just depending on the structures, right? So it just creates this level of ambiguity around how exactly these products get to the final consumer. So the manufacturer themselves have limited information around how exactly are those products moving. So once we send this product out to the next point, which is either a distributor or a major outlet, we don't exactly know what happens from there up until when it gets to the the final consumer. So that is a very big problem today that the industry is trying to look into. Yeah.
Okay, and do you think that tech is something that could solve that fragmentation?
I mean, yeah. So tech has its cause. So there is, of course, everything that we understand is that tech is an enabler. Tech does not stand on its own, right? So there are layers of infrastructure that needs to exist for tech to really play out the way it's supposed to play. And some cases, like in our market here in Nigeria, we see that most of those infrastructures are not available. For example, transportation lines are not very readily available. So the same routes that goods will ply is still the same routes that humans would also ply as well. You still see that there are cases where there is little digital literacy among the people that play in the big segment of this market. For example, in the informal side, even though there are distributors that have, they use technology to operate, there are still other distributors today that still do not use any form of technology, right? And that is because of the fact that there is low literacy for them around what exactly is the benefit? Why am I going to use this, right? So technology would solve the problem in a way that it can help guide the process. That's one. So every process along the way, so it can help guide the process. It can also help the people that are playing in this market or in this industry to really understand what exactly they operate, the businesses that they are engaging in right now. So it can also help them to sort of just be able to communicate better, especially with their manufacturers, because today, like we talked about the fragmentation, one of the key challenges here is that there is really no communication lines across board. So technology would have its cause, but it will still be built up on top of the infrastructure that exists or does not exist. Yeah.
Okay, and then you mentioned one major part is logistics, right? It's
Okay.
something that is also part of that fragmentation. So
Exactly.
aside from logistics, what other things do you think would also is also an underestimated risk in the supply chain?
Okay. So when we talk about the risk, so the first thing that you probably want to look at is communication, right? So communication is an underestimated risk because, like I said, the moment a product has been made and has left the lines of the
Manufacturer.
manufacturers, from that moment onwards, so much can happen along the way. that these manufacturers do not really know what is going on. So there is really no clear communication. And because of that, there is also issues around data integrity. So if I am able to, for me to be able to communicate, it means that there has to be an information that is being passed from one party to another. And what exactly is that information and how that information is being passed is another thing. So communication is a big underestimated risk, but it is lying on top of the fact that we do not have existing data, right? Or the kind of data that we generate are of low fidelity or low integrity. So let me give you an example now. So let me say a wholesaler, for example, that sits, that connects back to the distributor and the distributor connects back to the manufacturer. Most of the time, when a product gets to the wholesaler, there is really no information about how that product is being sold, right? So yes, they bought the product, but in some cases, they don't share information about what has been sold. They don't share information about what is doing well in the market. There are cases where maybe a manufacturer is trying to do some market storm, and at that moment they just call and say, oh, place some products in front so that they know that these products are moving and all of those kinds of stuff. But it doesn't really tell the real thing around whether this product is actually selling or not. So the manufacturer can come in through the market storm, they see their products everywhere, they believe that, okay, this product is doing well because they are being displayed across the stores. But the moment they leave, everybody just goes back to their natural state. So that issue of what exactly am I selling and how that data is being connected back to the place that the product is being produced from is something that is a risk that if it is being handled, then it can open up a very big opportunity for all parties across board. But if we still are not able to communicate and share this data very well, then there's just a chance that we will continue to operate in a way that will increase the fragmentation rather than consolidate it.
Okay, so my last question will be, how do we now bridge that fragmented gap?
All right. So one of the things that we need to do is to first of all look at how do we bring benefits to the people at the shop floors. When I say shop floors, I'm not using the regular shop floors, right? So when you go to the open market, for example, these wholesalers, these major retailers, what benefits are they enjoying, right? So for you to want to bridge the gap and ensure that you have an open communication back to the producers, they need to understand that there are some benefits that they need to get. Let me give you an example as well. Now, a wholesaler, you want to get data from them. For example, you want to know which of their products are selling currently. But if they don't enjoy any benefits from that data that you are even trying to get from them, maybe the data does not help them understand what products they should buy more, right? What products would give them more profits, what products they should not stock as much because maybe it stays longer in their stores or in their warehouses. If they don't have a tool, for example, that can help them to understand their own businesses or help them to increase their sales. So many of these people are also looking for new channels to sell their products. Yes, we understand that digital solutions are coming across and some of them are trying to kill off the traditional structures, which I don't think, is the right way to go. Some of them are trying to kill off these traditional structures. So these guys that are in the traditional structures are also looking for how do I now sell my product? So if a tech company, for example, is getting products from a manufacturer and selling it to a retailer, the wholesalers are also trying to sell the same products to the retailers as well. So how do they increase their sales? So if we bring a solution that can help them sell more, help them understand their businesses more, help them handle the bureaucracies around their processes. If they want to return products back to a distributor or back to a manufacturer, they need to have a clear process around that using a solution, right? So if those benefits are there for them, right, and they're able to understand their businesses better, then there's an open channel for them to want to now share, to say, okay, because I'm using this tool and it's benefiting me, I'm happy to still share the same information back to the manufacturers. But if the manufacturers themselves are just looking for maybe bringing in merchandisers, just bringing in people, go to this store, just record their sales, you don't even need to give them any information about their own sales, then, it doesn't really cut it.
Okay, and that's what Afiari does.
Exactly. So Afiari pretty much provides the full infrastructure in terms of software that these businesses can use to record their sales, their inventory, track their purchases, handle purchase returns, everything about what they do. And we are also able to then, provide that data back to the manufacturers where they can, in one place, have intelligence around everything about how those products are performing in the market. And they can also better support their lines of, distributors or wholesalers. So if, for example, I can know that this product is doing well in this particular region or in this particular store, I can advise the business to say, okay, based on your performance, you could probably try to do X, Y, Z, or try to sell these other kinds of products because this is what, you are doing today. So that system of unifying everything is what we do.